Hello and welcome. Today we are doing another 4-camera comparison test. This time we are doing a doggy cam test. Now, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that I recently posted a video in which I reviewed this guy, the Feiyutech Pocket 3 gimbal camera, and in particular we did a comparison to this guy, the DJI Pocket 2 gimbal camera. Now, although it didn't fare too well in that particular comparison, one of the things I mentioned in that video is I was particularly intrigued by the ability to detach the head and what creative possibilities this might enable. So this then is our second follow-up video to that. Now, in the first follow-up, we looked at 4 different cameras and their ability to catch some close-up footage of some hummingbirds, and I will post that video at the end of this one. In our second video, we're going to focus on some fast action. Specifically, we're going to take the same 4 cameras, we're going to connect them to a dog harness and see how well each one handles the very fast and shaky action. So we're going to be using the same 4 cameras as we did in our previous test, starting with the Feiyu Pocket 3, the DJI Pocket 2, the GoPro Hero 10, and the Insta360 X3 360 camera. So in this particular test, I think the Feiyu is going to perform a lot better, mainly due to the fact that it is by far the lightest and smallest of all the cameras being tested in this comparison. I like the fact that it's nice and compact as opposed to some of the other cameras which tend to be a little bit heavier, and also that makes them flop around in the mounting. Just to be clear, we're not just talking about sedate walking here. We're also talking fast action, where the cameras are really going to be shaken around. As with the previous comparison, I'm not going to do any complex side-by-side comparisons, but I am going to present the results in order from worst to last, at least in my opinion. But I'll already say that this was a lot more difficult than in the previous comparison test we did. Before we get started, one important thing: this video is not sponsored or paid for in any way. All of the cameras in this review were purchased with my own money, and the opinions are entirely my own. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I love this camera. It has excellent image quality and really good stabilization. But let's be honest, it's just not designed for this type of application. The main problem is the tall form factor, which makes it somewhat unstable in the mount and also exaggerates every movement. Worse still, if you want to be able to control the gimbal head remotely, you have to add the do-it-all handle, which makes it even bigger. And of course, more prone to being damaged. So while this might be good for a sedate walk, it's clear that the DJI is just not designed for this kind of fast action filming. Now, by ranking the GoPro in 3rd place, that doesn't mean I don't think it's good. Clearly the GoPro is an excellent action camera. It offers high quality video and for the most part good stabilization. Although I felt that the stabilization could have been better in some cases here. But for this particular application, I think where it loses out is because it only films in one direction. Once you mount it, you don't have any chance to change the perspective. That being said, it's worth mentioning that the GoPro is definitely the most rugged of all the cameras tested here. Unlike the other three cameras, I would have no reservations using the GoPro, no matter how bad the conditions or how rough the action. So it was a really tough decision between the GoPro and the Feiyu, but I decided to give second place to the Feiyu Pocket 3. Now while the image quality isn't stellar, it's still pretty good, and I was really surprised at how well the mechanical stabilization worked. But the Feiyu edged out the GoPro in two areas, the first being its very small size and weight. So there were no issues with the joints of the mount moving or the harness slipping. Another advantage of the Feiyu is the ability to move the gimbal head. And while the implementation still needs some improvement, I was able to play around with the handle and change the perspective to get some interesting shots. But for me, there's one very clear winner, and that's the Insta360 X3. Now, because you're cropping in on the sensor when reframing, the resolution is not as high as with the other cameras. But as you can see, the video quality is still very good, and the stabilization is just incredible. But where the X3 really wins out is its ability to film in 360 degrees, allowing you to reframe your video however you want after the fact. Now I should mention that the X3 is the largest and heaviest camera in this comparison, increasing the chance of movement on the mount or the harness. But because you're filming in 360 degrees, this really isn't a problem. So there we have it, some pretty interesting results. And let me be the first to acknowledge that my rankings, of course, are very subjective, and your rankings may be different depending on your exact situation and what your objectives are with your filming. Along those lines, if you have any experiences to share, if you have any comments or questions on this video, please share those in the comments section and I will try to address them. Also, I have some additional ideas for some comparison videos that I want to run between these cameras. If you have any suggestions of particular filming scenarios you would like to see covered in a similar comparison video, please put those into the comments section as well, and I'll try to cover those in a future video. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the channel and remember to hit the notifications button so you can be notified when any new videos post. Thank you again for watching.